Let's focus now on the shock move by Sports Minister Natim Tetwa. He has withdrawn funding and official recognition from Cricket South Africa, the culmination of months of boardroom battles at CSA. Now, if the Members' Council, which represents cricket affiliates, does not agree with the recommendations put forward to create an independent board by this time next week, the Minister will go ahead with his plan. This could mean no national or international tours, possible corporate sponsors being withdrawn, massive damage to the game itself and our reputation in the cricket world. Let's discuss this now with Judith February. She's a lawyer, political analyst, and she's also a member of the Interim Cricket Board. And, of course, that Interim Cricket Board has been trying to turn things around. Judith, thank you very much for joining us. My understanding of what the Interim Cricket Board has been doing is trying to really implement the 2011-2012 Nicholson Report recommendations, which is that the board needs to be mostly staffed by independent members, not as it is currently, which sees a majority of affiliate members. Is that part of the problem?
Yes, Sally, good evening. So that is part of the problem. Fundamental to the Nicholson report was that one had to have a majority independent board. And currently, but for that to happen, you have to amend Cricket South Africa's Memorandum of Incorporation, which is like a constitution. For that, you need a special majority, which is 75% of the Members' Council, which is made up of the affiliate presidents of cricket. And we had a majority, but we didn't have a special majority, even though we had agreed with the Members' Council that we would hold the special general meeting on Saturday. That meeting was disgracefully, I would say, hijacked by SASCOC, who we had agreed with the Members' Council that they would not have speaking rights, but they were granted speaking rights even after the Minister had spoken. And so there was a lot of, there's been a lot of back and forth over a number of months for us to really get to the point where cricket can have a board, majority independent board, and an independent chair to put it on a new path of innovative and modern governance.
So why are some members of the Members' Council so against this move? And why are you so adamant that it has to happen?
We're adamant that it has to happen, Sally, because the Members' Council, because of the strange legal animal that Cricket South Africa is, the Minister intervened, but technically the Members' Council is the highest authority in cricket. So it had to appoint us in terms of it had to appoint us to make it all legal. They did that knowing that they would have to accept the fact that part of the Minister's mandate to us was to amend the Memorandum of Incorporation and implement Nicholson. So it's disingenuous now to get to when the point where the board is nearly at the end of its life and hold up the process and say, well, we don't agree with this. And what the Members' Council, a minority of the Members' Council, Sally, I think it's very important to stress that there are individuals like Anne Villas, for example, who was very open in the special general meeting on Saturday and said she wanted an open ballot, a show of hands. The minority then, of course, said that they wanted a secret ballot, and then from then on we knew where it was headed, to vote against an independent majority board and an independent chair. Now, I can't put myself in the heads of the Members' Council individuals, but, will turkeys vote for Christmas? And are you going to sort of, in a sense, perhaps vote yourself out of a position? And if you're working from the premise of self-preservation, then a rational discussion about governance becomes incredibly difficult.
Right. So I take it then that you support the Minister's move, which my understanding is it's come out of absolute frustration because we're just not winning and getting what we want, according to the mandate that was put forward by the Nicholson report. Ray Marley, speaking on Channel, has said that basically this puts the ball firmly back into the Members' Council's court. And they have to now fix this, or basically Cricket South Africa is going to be collapsed. Am I right?
That's correct. And so this is really, we're at 2 minutes to midnight. It's last chance saloon. But Sally, it's a typically South African self-inflicted wound. It doesn't have to be this way. The Members' Council could accept. They could still do a Section 60 of the Companies Act. They could pass a special resolution in writing, and they could expedite that, and they could accept a majority independent board and an independent chair. They have had many other queries about the memorandum of incorporation, continually trying to filibuster and trying to obstruct, when actually we had agreed to those very important points. And so, yes, the ball is back in their court. I think they're making a mistake by tempting fate and tempting the minister to gazette his actions. Once we're at that point, we are at the point of no return. Cricket will collapse in South Africa, and getting back from that is a near impossible task. We have sponsors who are very concerned. We have the players themselves. It's very difficult to describe the dysfunction that we found when we took over as an interim board, but also that staff are fearful of their jobs. And so, one wants to be reassuring, and it is directly in the hands of the Members' Council to shift this narrative and to put the interests of the game and the country, may I say, above their own narrow interests.
Oh, we'll certainly keep a very close eye on that story. Judith, you have also written very powerfully about a big story that's dominated our week, and that, of course, was the fires of Cape Town, but particularly how it robbed UCT of so many precious literary works in the Jagger Library. What do we lose when a chunk of our heritage goes up in smoke like that? Because after all, it's just pieces of paper.
Well, it's sadly what we lose is we lose a piece of ourselves, I think. And there's been a lot of debate and conversation in the media about history, whose history, what history. All of it, all of our history, complex as it is, colonial, pre-colonial, apartheid, pre-apartheid, it's all important because it all tells us something about who we are and how we arrived where we are. We can't look ahead if we aren't able to look at the past unblinkered and honestly. And part of that is about understanding the role of the university in preserving knowledge, but also in creating an intellectual space for people to think and to question. And part of what is sad is that that some of that lies, a lot of that now lies in ashes and in ruin. And I think for those of us particularly whose alma mater UCT is, to see the Jagger Reading Room, for example, these most beautiful of buildings going up in smoke, it was really an emotional to see that. But also it robs us all because there's something about a university which should be at the heart of our collective life and at the heart of us questioning and seeking truth. And so it's the countless artifacts, maps, theses, all in there which are up in smoke. It really is a sad day for UCT. And I think that, the university will have its own plan on how to rebuild, but I think it's up to all of us to be part of that, whether it's through writing, whether it's through support, to support the intellectual project in South Africa. It is crucial if we're going to build a more open, a more transparent and a more accountable society, and one which is based on knowledge and reason.
Yeah, as opposed to different narratives that aren't necessarily fact-based. It's a good point. Judith, lastly, this week we've seen the ongoing interviews by the Judicial Services Commission along with MPs assessing who should head our courts. It's such a big, topical, crucial issue. Lots of interesting stuff coming out of that. But for you, what's been the most significant moment?
Well, Sally, I think that, and I wrote about this in the Daily Maverick this week, I think it was the significant moment for me. Well, there were a few, but I think it's been the way in which the Chief Justice has handled the JSC hearings. His astonishing revelation in the middle of Judge Daya Pillai's interview that Praveen Gordhan, the minister, had asked, how did my friend do in 2016? And that the Chief Justice didn't mention this to anyone and then drops this bombshell in the middle of the JSC hearings. Julius Malema's rant, I think, was against Judge Pillai was also noticeable. And again, the common denominator is the Chief Justice, who didn't do anything to intervene and stop this egregious line of questioning. Similarly, when Advocate Leveson was asked about being Jewish, that something so fundamentally important to all of us, religious freedom, is being questioned. and that sort of casual anti-constitutional sentiment. I was rather concerned about that, and I think there are many questions that one can ask about the Judicial Services Commission, and particularly the leadership under Chief Justice Mogoeng. And we see Judge President of the Western Cape, John Hlophe, presiding over, being part of the interview process when he himself is facing serious charges of misconduct. So these are matters which need to be looked at, because one does not want the credibility of the JSC to be eroded. I'd argue that this week and last week that already some of that has been eroded. And so we need to take care of these institutions and to constantly be fighting for them to be open and for them to be transparent. So I think it's really good that we can see what's going on, because that's a part of democracy and part of the process of choosing a judiciary which is independent and which is not executive-minded, but preserves the constitutional rights of all South Africans.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for chatting to us. That was lawyer, columnist and member of the Interim Board for Cricket South Africa, Judith February. She is, of course, with the Wits School of Governance. Still ahead.